So, good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
首先，请允许我做一个自我介绍。
So, first, allow me to introduce myself furthermore.
我来自中国，在鱼品行业从业40年，从种草、养奶牛、养绵羊，到生产、加工、销售，经营了2家上市公司。
So, I come from China, and I've been in the Chinese dairy industry for almost 40 years, 40. And I started my business starting from grass raising cows, and manufacturing, and later on marketing and sales.
这2家上市公司包括牛奶和山药奶。
And I've co-established 2 public listed dairy companies in China, including cow milk powders as well as goat milk powders.
新西兰的绵羊产奶产业化、商业化是我第3个上市公司的目标。
So, the industrialization and commercialization of New Zealand sheep milk industry is my target for the 3rd listed dairy company.
蓝河渔业是新西兰绵羊产奶产业化、商业化的领先的企业。
So, Blue River has been pioneering and also leading position in the New Zealand sheep milk dairy.
通过10多年的努力，从奶绵羊的育种开始，到生产、加工、销售，生产了很多受市场欢迎的奶酪、酸奶、冰淇淋和全脂奶粉、脱脂奶粉。当然，在去年9月份，我们生产了一款全球首款的绵羊奶的婴儿配方奶粉。
Yeah, after 10 years hard work on the sheep breeding and manufacturing and marketing, and we have produced the award-winning and market-welcomed product, for example, cheese, sheep milk cheese, ice cream, and whole milk powder, skim milk powder, as well as infant formula. And last year, in September last year, we launched this first sheep infant formula into China market.
蓝河渔业对绵羊奶的产业化、商业化已初步形成了很好的规模和商业价值。
So we formed a preliminary scale and also commercial value of the New Zealand sheep dairy industry.
我想借助这个机会，感谢蓝河渔业的创始人 Case 先生为新西兰绵羊奶产业化和商业化所做出的贡献。
So I would like also take this opportunity to thank Mr. Keith Nealon for his pioneering and his effort made on the New Zealand sheep milk industry.
今天我们来到北帕这个美丽的城市，因为北帕是新西兰最年轻、最有活力、收入最高的城市。
And here now we get together here in this North Palmerston city. This is, I googled, is a young and passionate city. Also, the per capita income is quite high in New Zealand as well.
仅够从事绵羊产业化和商业化的同事们齐聚一堂，来召开这个绵羊奶大会，来共享现在和未来新西兰绵羊奶产业化、商业化的战略。
Yeah, it's good to have all the stakeholders over here gather and discuss and to talk about the future, talk about what we're going to do in the future and also the current situation.
在此，我对这次大会的和绵羊奶产业化、商业化的主题研究和推广做出卓越贡献的皇家农科院以及梅西大学表示衷心的感谢。
And I also wanted to appreciate Agri-Research and Mass University for the great effort made on the sheep milk industry as well.
我有充分的理由相信，新西兰的绵羊产奶产业化、商业化，在不久的未来就会成为新西兰渔业又一张新的国家名片。
I'm quite confident that New Zealand sheep dairy industry will become another national business card for the whole New Zealand dairy industry.
好，现在我用 简短的时间，从东方市场开始，用东方市场的我的视觉来阐述一下未来新西兰绵羊产业化、商业化的市场的我的一些分享，跟大家做一个分享。
So next, I would like to share of my thoughts and expectations towards the sheep milk industry, especially in the global and Eastern market.
好，往下放吧。
你要不站在这边吗？
OK，在这里看得到没问题，你就往下放吧。
It's not working. Sorry. Oh,
不行，好
okay.
因为东方是世界鱼品市场的新方向，东方也是绵羊奶市场的新方向，东方也是我们大家在座的各位洗手共进的新方向。
So my presentation will depart into 3 parts. It's obviously over there. It's part 1 is East-oriented dairy market. And the second one is the ovine dairy market rise in the East. And also, let's work together toward East.
往下放吧。为什么这么说？因为全球的鱼品市场已经进入一个买方的市场，但是作为东方中国的市场，仍然在不断的扩容。
So the part 1 is global dairy market is now turns to a buyer's market, but the market size in China is still growing.
往下放。由于绵羊奶的诞生，使一枝独大的牛奶的乳制品市场变成了3元竞争的格局，当然包括牛奶、山羊奶，现在加上我们的绵羊奶，就从乳制品行业来说，就变成了3元竞争的格局。
Now the bovine, the cow milk has been the mainstream dairy in the market, and with the introduction of goat and sheep into the market, is now the pie has been divided into 3 parts.
因为牛奶的市场的整体是供大于求，消费增长乏力，这在全球所有的市场出现这么一个情况。但是说，它的价格、它的竞争也会越来越激烈，所以整体的市场的发展，老的品类受到了瓶颈，但是新的品类的诞生会大大的增加我们行业发展的机会，比如说我们的绵羊奶。
And the current market situation is that cow's milk has been dominating still, but there is a supply surplus in the global market supply. And so the market environment for the cow's milk is a bit challenging now. So with the introduction of the new category, goat and sheep, there is much room for further expansion and growth.
东方市场作为全球的纯进口的一个市场，也是全球增长最快的、容量最大的一个市场。
So Eastern market is the biggest sized market and also welcomes all these imported dairy products.
这里有几组数据，包括欧盟的乳清粉在中国进口总量的41%左右，欧盟的配方奶粉占整个中国的进口奶粉的比例占到了将近72%。
So I have some figures over here. For example, 40%, 41% of the European whey powder has been exported into China market, and 71% of the European infant formula has been exported into China market as well.
新西兰作为一个乳品出口的大国，但是在中国以原料出口到中国，占到了中国进口量的75%。
And 75% of the New Zealand commodities has been exported into China, but only 8% of the infant formula is imported into China.
新西兰的配方奶粉只占到了中国市场的8.6%的份额。
Yeah, but the infant formula importation volume is quite slower, quite smaller.
中国市场在不断的扩容，它的增量在以下几个方面会保持未来的增长趋势。
Yeah, why I said the market demand in China remains positive lies in the following parts.
因为现在全球都知道，中国的雾霾跟中国的经济带来了困扰，更重要的是，雾霾跟中国的食品安全和农业生态的发展带来了实属不可低估的隐患。
And you may know that the haze or the air pollution in China is quite serious nowadays, and it also has brought profound impact and negative impact, and the risks to China's economy and the food safety as well as economical growth.
因为现在更多的中国人都很羡慕新西兰，纯净的新西兰。包括我本人一到新西兰，我的皮肤就不会痒了，但是我一回到中国去，我的皮肤就瘙痒了。
Yeah. So as Chinese, we're very jealous of New Zealand because as Kiwis here, we enjoy very good environment and air. Every time I travel to New Zealand, I don't have this sensitive to my skin, but in China, my skin gets scratches in China.
所以说，中国的空气、中国的水、中国的土壤都受到了不同程度的污染。所以说，中国的食物、食品在很大的程度上是有不安全性。
So this pollution into the air, into the soil and the land has really brought us very negative impact towards the food safety in China.
所以说，中国人东方对国外进口的食品，未来它的放映的程度和接受度会越来越高。
So that's why we prefer imported dairy product. We prefer imported food from overseas.
当然，作为乳制品来说，未来的功能性的乳制品的需求量也会越来越多，越来越受欢迎。
And I also expect those functional dairy products will getting more popular in China as well.
近5年来，中国的婴幼儿配方奶粉的复合增长率保持在10%这么一个水平。
Still, the compound annual growth rate of the infant formula sales in the last 5 years remains at 10%.
现在中国政府已经放开了2胎的生育，但是我相信未来的2年，可能中国是把计划生育全部放开，可能你生3个、4个、5个都没问题，都 OK 了。
So last year, China has loosened the one-child policy, and I expect in the short future there will be further loosening of the two-child policy.
这跟我们乳制品，尤其是跟我们食品milk的未来的一个很大的发展机会。
This provides really a great opportunity for the dairy business.
东方是绵羊奶市场的新方向，因为在中国，新品类、新的营养价值功能的产品会受到更多的市场和消费者的接受。
And the second part is ovine dairy market rising. Is why I say so is that Eastern markets more welcomes new category, new stuff.
当然，新西兰在绵羊产奶产业化、商业化，它有得天独厚的条件。首先它是骑在羊背上的国家，有世界上最大的紧固的绵羊产业集群。
Yeah, I would say that New Zealand has its outstanding advantage towards the farming of sheep. And first of all, its resources advantage, and has the largest population of sheep.
英福卡果、布鲁威尔的农场的奶绵羊的育种技术，也是目前在全球是领先的。
And also we have the know-how for the breeding of milking sheep in New Zealand.
再加上纯净的新西兰跟未来的东方市场的消费者，会带来一个更加确保安全的来源的信心。
And also the safe quality of the milk resource is quite welcomed in the Chinese consumers.
当然，新西兰按片有着严格的对食品的监管的制度和措施。
And I know that MPI has the most strict control towards the food safety.
使每一批出口到中国市场的产品会更加有质量、安全的保障。
And every batch of the exportation of formula or milk powder has been strictly controlled.
所以说，我们的绵阳产奶产业化、商业化一定要从中国开始，因为中国有很大的市场的容量。虽然中国现在的经济在下行，经济低迷，但是中国是3个家庭来养1个到2个以上的孩子。
Yeah, so why I say well, the sheep dairy industry rising east or rising in China is that although the Chinese economy now slows down a little bit, but we have very special family structure that 3 families raise 1 child.
我跟中国的家庭和新西兰的家庭，我做了一个比较。
I made a comparison of the New Zealand family and the Chinese family.
虽然在座的新西兰的公民，他的收入是中国公民的10倍，
Although that the income of one family member here in New Zealand may be 10 times bigger than what we've earned in China,
但是中国是3个家庭6个人养1个小孩或者2个小孩，
Yeah.
他所以加起来是超过了我们新西兰家庭的经济收入的总和。
yeah. But we're in China that 6 adults or 2 families, 6 pairs of couples, they raise 1 or 2 children.
包括我们家，我们夫妻2口加上儿媳妇的父母，再加上他儿子，加上我儿子跟媳妇他本身的收入加起来，应该是比新西兰公民的家庭的收入的应该是你们的2倍。
Yeah. So, for example, me and my wife, and also my son's wife, and also my daughter-in-law's parents. So, 6 adults raise 1 child.
所以说，在中国现在中国消费者的消费的能力，尤其是对小孩的投入的消费的能力，远远大于西方国家的。
Yeah, so the investment, I would say, the investment from the Chinese parents into the baby is really a lot.
在中国有句话啊，只买贵的，不买对的。
And there is also saying in China that we always go for the most expensive ones, not the right ones.
包括我们布鲁维尔的绵羊奶粉400克，曾经卖到了1280。
Yeah, you may know that the whole milk powder of Blue River branded in China market once targeted a retail price of 1,280 RMB.
我相信在座的每个人都不会去用1280块钱买一罐400克的奶粉。
Yeah, I doubt that you guys will buy such a tin for 400 gram.
但是中国大有人在，
But in China, it gets quite popular in China, that price.
所以说，未来的乳制品市场，它有这么几个特点。首先，它是向高端化、高附加值来看齐，同时新品类带来的新营养价值会受到消费者的青睐。也就是说，牛奶它的增长，在中国市场未来3年到5年是个位数的增长，但是山羊奶它的增长是2位数。 绵羊奶的未来的增长，它可能会超过3位数的增长。
So I would say the characteristic of the Chinese consumer market for infant formula, we always go for the premium sector, and also with the new nutritional value that sheep and goats bring into the market, is also welcomed by the China market. And Mr. Chen thinks that the growth rate for the infant formula of cow's infant formula in the future will limit into 1 digital increase rate, while the goat can be approached to 2 digital increase rate, but he would expect that sheep can go for 3 digitals.
我来举一个案例，我的前 上市公司从澳洲、荷兰进口了一款3羊奶的奶粉，从零开始，用4年的时间，去年做到了10个亿，3000吨的，每年3000吨以上的销售。
I'll show you a story of here that I used to work for another company, and the company launched a goat infant formula 4 years ago from Holland, from Europe, into China market. And starting from zero, now last year, 2015, they have a sales turnover reached to 100 million RMB, and all the volume imported from European of the goat infant formula total 3,000 metric tons last year.
但是我的前上市公司的牛奶，这4年的增长没有超过9%。
But the cow's infant formula, the same product in that company, the growth rate is limited at 9% in the past 4 or 5 years.
我想从这一个，也就是说，在中国羊，因为在西方就有山羊和绵羊的总和，在中国叫羊。这个羊的奶粉现在已经广泛的被市场所接受。
In China, we have a one word, has the two meaning of both goat and sheep. We call it yang, like yang. So yang in China means both sheep and goat. I would say yang formula is highly recognized by the Chinese consumers now.
羊奶粉的价格也是牛奶的多1/3的价格。
And also the yang formula, the retail price is like 30% higher than the cow's infant formula.
所以说，在新西兰发展绵羊产奶产业化和商业化是大有前途。
So that gives really a great opportunity for the yang formula, as well as, of course, the sheep infant formula here in China.
所以说，羊奶粉、山羊奶粉已经领先参与了市场的竞争，参与了中国市场的竞争。所以说，它已经取得了很好的业绩。通过羊奶粉的节选，我们的绵羊奶粉的面世的话，我相信它的增长数应该是保持在3位数的以上的增长。
Yeah, the goat infant formula has already seized a great part of the size of the market in China market, and he really expects that sheep can do that as well.
因为绵羊奶的营养价值远远比牛奶高，而且它更加适合于对牛奶蛋白过敏、对乳糖不耐症的儿童，会起到更好的解决方案。
Because the young formula or the sheep formula is like has much higher tolerance towards cows' intolerance synergies. For example, if you're intolerant to cow's milk or cow's protein and lactose, you get easier with the sheep milk.
所以说，在中国仅购的婴幼儿配方奶粉，它的仅购的销售规模在1200个亿。
Yeah, here's the figures over here. The infant formula market in China at a size of 120 billion RMB.
目前在中国的羊奶粉、山羊奶粉，它现在的销售大概接近30个亿。
And the goat and sheep formula has now at a market size of roughly 2 to 3 billion.
我预计，未来的羊奶粉在中国市场，在未来的5年内可以达到将近120个亿。
And it's expected to have a 10% of this big pie for the young formula, so it's roughly 120 billion in 5 years' time.
虽然山羊奶粉在中国市场已经先行一步，但是我们的绵羊奶现在也是一个很好的发展的时机和机会了。我们应该大家赶快的行动，到中国市场，到东方市场去，把我们的绵羊奶 做大量的推广。
So the goat has seized a great part of this market so far, and we really expect that the sheep can do the same way. I put a word over here is to pave the way for her nicer-looking sister sheep.
当然，全球的山羊奶，包括新西兰的资源都是稀缺的，也是紧张的。到现在为止啊，到今年、到去年、到现在为止，整个全球的山羊奶都是一奶难求。
But the resource of the milk is quite limited in the global market, global world. For example, the goat is quite demanding nowadays.
也就是说，受制于山羊奶的产业发展的规模和资源的限制了整个的乡野发展推广。
So although we expect that great future for the young formula, but it's really quite limited to the development of the upstream resources.
因为新西兰的绵羊在全球来说，它的总量应该是很大很大的量。如果大家把绵羊产业化、精进的做好的话，我相信未来引领市场丰收的不是山羊奶，是新西兰的 sheep milk。
So we have a really large population for the sheep here in New Zealand, although it's for wool and meat in the past. But that is really a great foundation for us to boost in the future in regards to the dairy sheep.
当然，我们有很多的工作需要我们大家去做，甚至有很多的困难，我们需要去解决。
But there are a lot of opportunities, still a lot of problems, difficulties ahead.
所以说，我的建议，新西兰的畜牧业的产业结构的调整是势在必行。
So my personal opinion is that the stock farming structure here in New Zealand needs to be, restructured.
大家知道，包括澳大利亚、新西兰，在近5年来，由于厄尔尼厄的现象，造成了干旱、小雨、小水，跟新西兰的草场载储量和植被的退化，已经困扰着我们的奶业的发展。
Yeah, you know that due to the El Nino symptom that it brought New Zealand as well as Australia a lot of drought in the last couple of years.
所以说，奶牛它所带来由于干旱天气带来的影响，对环境带来的污染，因为大量的牛粪由于水不足，它的牛粪的降解会发生问题，也就是对水和环境的污染会日趋严重。
And the environment pollution for cows farming is now, getting more serious. The pollution into the water and the soil for cows farming is getting more and more serious now in New
而
Zealand.
奶绵羊的发展，它比牛奶来说，它对环境、对水、对资源的影响利用度会显著的要小和提高。
While the sheep dairy or the ovine dairy is more environment friendly compared to the bovine dairy.
我到澳洲去，澳洲人跟我说，他不知道绵羊还能产毛、产肉。
Yeah, I visited Europe one time. That they actually don't know that milk can actually provide wool and meat.
所以说，我们新西兰的绵羊不光是要保持它良好的肉和毛以外，我相信通过绵羊产奶的话，所有它的商业价值、经济价值和生态效益会得到显著的提高。
But here, if we turn the wool and meat sheep into dairy sheep, because at the same time can produce milk and meat, so I will say the economic value and the social value of the ovine dairy industry will be much higher than the traditional cows.
所以我在这里呼吁，新西兰的政府，包括行业，都应该大力的发展和推广绵羊产奶产业化和商业化的进程，因为这是新西兰得天独厚的优势，别的国家是没办法跟新西兰来比肩的。
Yeah, because New Zealand really had its advantage condition for the industrialization and commercialization of ovine dairy industry. It's really a great field that we can both work for.
请大家记住，这是大会的，是一个历史性的转折。我相信未来，如果政府和我们大家共同努力的话，在未来的5年或者8年或者不超过10年，我相信新西兰的绵羊产卵产业化和商业化会渐渐成为新西兰畜牧业的渔业的一张新的名片，一个新的支柱的产业，在我们这个诞生了。
Yeah, I really has confidence towards the New Zealand dairy industry that in the 8 or 10 years' time we can make ovine industry here in New Zealand another national business card to the world.
所以说，东方是大家携手共进的方向，也就是新西兰的绵羊产卵产业化、商业化，是我们在做的共同的迈向的一个目标。
So let's work together toward East and explore the Eastern market, pushing forward the process of the dairy industry development.
作为我来自中国，开拓东方市场是推进新西兰绵羊产卵产业化和商业化进程的一个很好的动力。
Yeah, I
市场。
myself will further explore the market and pushing forward the process of New Zealand ovine dairy industry.
我们南河正在为新西兰的绵羊产卵产业化和商业化，在全球致力于全球的推广，已经在不懈余力的在进行了推广。
Yeah, Blue River, we target ourselves as a New Zealand ovine dairy brand player and has been working hard to boost and develop the New Zealand sheep milk into the world.
在去年的9月16号，我们在美国的永约时代广场刊登了广告，就专为新西兰绵羊奶在全球12个国家同步推广销售南河的婴幼儿配方奶粉。
And last year, in September 16th, we put a big advertisement at Times Square, New York City, to officially announce to the world the launch of our Blue River branded infant formula into the world.
我们已经把新西兰的绵羊奶这张名片在美国的永优时代广场已经做了多次的宣传。
So we've also made a lot of more advertisement in the new Times Square, New York City for the New Zealand sheep milk.
所以说，我们南河在未来为了把新西兰的绵羊产卵产业化、商业化能够做得更快、更强、更大的话，我想，我愿意和在座的各位女士们、先生们携手共同的去推进。
Yeah, with the further boost and development of ovine dairy industry, that I would love to work together with everyone over here to introduce New Zealand ovine industry to the world.
首先，我们希望政府的参与和支持，与政府携手，借助国家名片、国家的产业支持来做大绵羊奶产业。
Yeah, first one, we wanted to work with the government to seek for government support and policies into this industry.
我们更愿意与绵羊产业化的行业们，我做商业化的推广来携手，向更多的绵羊的奶农场加入到绵羊产卵产业化的这个行业中来。
Yeah, as a marketer of the sheep milk, that I would like also to attract more and more farmers to join this big family of in the industry.
当然，市场推广离不开产品的营养价值的研究，所以我更希望和皇家农科院和梅西大学携手，共同的借助 他们的优势，科学研究的优势，来做出绵羊奶的标准和营养研究的更加向消费者能够感觉到对他们更有帮助的研究成果的分享。
And consumers welcome scientific figures or scientific data to the ship's milk. So I would really appreciate to work with the third parties, for example, Agri Research and Mass University, to dig out the nutritional value of ship's milk and further standardize ship dairy quality.
因为新西兰的绵羊是有深厚的绵羊文化的，我想和新西兰各行各业来合作，把新西兰的要想把这个产业做好，要把新西兰的绵羊的文化进一步的放大和传播，使这个产业才能得到更多的各个层面的认同和帮助，包括支持。
Yeah, and from the market point of view, it's good to tell stories instead of just selling products. So I would really love to work with everyone to endorse for the New Zealand sheep culture. So it's not just dairy, but sheep milk, sheep culture of this country. So much.
所以说，南河虽然是一个很小的一个推广的者，但是我想通过南河的努力来为这个整个绵羊产奶产业化、商业化做出我们的先行的努力。谢谢大家。
So although Blue River is now still a small brand, a small company, but we will start now and to make our best effort into the New Zealand sheep milk industry. Thank you very much.
也希望大家对南河渔业的更多的帮助和支持。
And I appreciate your great support and help towards Blue River.
再一次感谢大家。
Thank you again.
Mr. Chen, that was a wonderful address and really fascinating consumer insights. I, for one, didn't know that 6 adults bring up 1 child in China, and that 2/3 of average monthly income goes towards bringing up that child. It's amazing. So very exciting to hear that sheep milk infant formula will take China by storm. And I'm sure everyone in the room today supports you in your quest to make Blue River your next publicly listed company on the Chinese Stock Exchange. Anything that we can do to help you, Mr. Chen. Our next speaker comes all the way from Tasmania, Australia. And I'd like to welcome Diane Ray to the stage. Diane is the CEO of Grandview Organic Sheep Cheeses in Tasmania. And prior to setting up her cheese milk operation, she was actually involved as a psychologist and a financial planner. And she moved to Tasmania about 15 years ago and set up her farm. She's won multiple awards for her cheeses and for her business nous. And her technical title is Head Cheesemaker and Entrepreneur. Over to you.
Can I grab that microphone? Just a few housekeeping things first. Daniel, have you got a clicker for me or something? Well, welcome, guys. I'm really stoked to be here. I think that this is amazing. I have been in the dairy sheep industry in Australia for about 14 years, and if we had a conference in Australia, there'd be about 3 of us there. So I think it's absolutely amazing that New Zealand has grabbed this concept and is running with it. So, I mean, guys, heads up to you guys. You're doing an amazing job. Let me just see if I can figure this out first, guys. And you love technology. So I'm here to talk about relationship marketing, which is a term that probably most people don't know or haven't heard of, or might have heard of it and wondered what it is. It's not direct selling, it's not direct marketing. But first, before we start, a little bit about where my journey's been. Moved to Tassie because, like New Zealand, it was an amazing place, had to be there, had to go there, had to live there. Then I had to figure out how to make an income. So through a whole series of events, I started Grandview Cheeses about 13 years ago. I was joined then by my son first. He was 19 at the time, about a year later, and we started off at the end of 2002 milking 40 sheep. They were all East Frieslands or East Frisian, depending on what you want to call them. And we also opened our cellar door at the same time. So right from the beginning, we have been involved in growing the sheep, milking the sheep, making product, and selling it at our farm gate. My daughter then joined me about 4 or 5 years later. She came out of the wine industry, had enough of Queensland and doing what she was doing there, and joined me. So now it's a family business. All of our partners are also working with us. They've got roped in. And we essentially, as I said, do everything from the ground up. We've had a hard time, as anyone here that's starting off in the industry will attest to. We knew a fair bit about business. We knew quite a bit about marketing. We didn't know anything about dairy sheep. I had a couple of Suffolk in Queensland, and that was it. In Tasmania and Australia at the time, and it's still the case there now, no one knew about dairy sheep. They assumed that they were the same as a normal sheep, and they're not. So a huge learning curve. I ended up joining the British Sheep Dairying Association and got a great deal of information from them. Learnt on the run, so to speak. I was saying to someone here before that there were quite a few sheep, unfortunately, probably went to their maker that shouldn't have, because we didn't know what the hell we were doing at the time. But I was very fortunate in about 2004 to become Real Woman of the Year. And the nice thing with that, apart from the fact it's always free publicity, and as a small business, any publicity is great, is that I got a bursary to travel overseas and look at other dairy sheep operations around the world. Out of that, I understood that the big catch cry for East Frieslands was they love to die. So I came back and built the Sheep Hilton, which we called it that. We call it 5-star ovine accommodation. It's signed as such on our farm because it cost us $100,000, and we needed to do that to keep the little buggers alive. So that was at least the start of starting to make a profit and not a loss. So relationship marketing, what is it? It's a technique that we use because we milk 80 sheep, 100 sheep this year. We have a 40, 50 acre property, so we, apart from trying to triple stack them on the property, that's about the extent of our capability. So how do you make a successful business? How do you create a profit with such a small milk supply? This year we now have another farm that's milking for us, and I was working with 30,000 litres of milk, which is not a lot, probably what Blue River does in a day. So how do you get enough money out of that to feed a family and keep your doors open? The answer for us is relationship marketing. So just a little bit, this is our new logo. We're transitioning from an old logo to a new one. We're becoming a lot more hipster because my children are now involved in the business, and we're also doing a couple of funky things with some byproducts of milk, which we'll get into. So this is Grandview Cheeses. Now, what we're going to look at now is a video which will just give you a little bit of background and a bit of visual on who we are and what we do. My son has recently, he's now distilling the only sheep whey vodka in the world. And if you haven't tasted sheep whey vodka, which you won't have, it's amazing. The derivatives of the sheep milk come through the distilling process. So it's creamy, it's nutty, and it's sweet. And of course, the media is taking it by storm. How are we going there, Daniel? Can we run it? It also has order. Sorry, guys. That's my son. This is Tourism Tasmania. This is what happens when you do things that are interesting and unique, is that you actually get a huge amount of media attention, and social media attention at no expense to the management, which is always great when you're a small business. So they have termed him the vodka shepherd. And this is part of a series of videos that they've done recently for people to discover Tasmania. And they selected only a handful of the better tourism operators to showcase. And what was amazing for us is that they actually put this video and the short capture take video on MSN. So Discover Tasmania, which is Tourism Tasmania, paid to put us on MSN.
Sheep's milk products. We make around about 8 different styles of cheeses. One of our most famous is our Sapphire Blue that got champion cheese of the Sydney Royal Show. I would never leave Tassie now. People don't realise the beauty that's here. Our mother has brought us up to always think creatively, to respect the environment.
So there's about 5 aspects of relationship marketing. This first one is build the know, like, and trust factor. We're all internet savvy now. Not many of us, when we go on the internet, will actually click on something and buy a product from a company that we've never heard of, we don't know, we haven't been recommended the product, we haven't had some exposure to. So it's important for your customers to actually see, feel and touch you. And you can do that in a variety of ways. The way that we choose to do it at Grandview is what we call relationship marketing. And the majority of that is that now we actually sell 90% of our product face-to-face. So 90% of our product is sold face-to-face. Not only sold face-to-face, it's sold at full retail markup. Full retail markup for us is $120 to $130 a kilo. I've just flown over from Sydney, from here, where I've just finished the Taste of Sydney, which is a high-end food and wine show, where they were screaming at us to throw cheese at $135 a kilo at them. Now, how do you do that? Firstly, you've got to develop the relationship. So there's a huge need in many of our cities. We don't see it a lot in Tassie. You may not see it a lot in New Zealand. But in our big capital cities in Australia, they have a huge need for what they've termed provenance. Provenance is they want to see, feel and touch the farmer. They want reality. They want something real. The food that they want to put in their mouths, they want to know how it was produced. How were the animals treated? Where did it come from? What was the environment like, as we've heard this morning? Who is the person? And it's really sad, but if I sit there and say, hi, try my cheese, da-da-da, I'm the cheesemaker in the family, oh my God, it's a cheesemaker. It's like we're this rare animal somewhere, and they can see, feel and touch us. Suddenly, I have a relationship with them. Within 1 or 2 minutes, it's established. It's important that the product that you're showing them is high quality and follows through on that promise. So, how do you develop the know, like and trust factor? As I said, we do it by a lot of one-on-one. We have a cellar door at the farm, which is a total experience for people coming there. We see probably about 40,000 people a year through. And we've just opened in what's called the Brook Street Pier. It's a fully glass pier. It's very specky on the Hobart waterfront, from which a ferry goes, and the ferry goes to a place called Mona. And Mona has now become world iconic as the most amazing Southern Hemisphere modern art museum. So we're at the forefront of that. People see us before they get onto the Mona ferry. So the other thing that we need to look at, I love technology, don't you love? Can I just have a sheep to deal with? Oh, thank you.
Click on the top, other way around.
This way?
Yep, yep. And then click on the extra top like this.
That one?
Yep.
Yeah,
Should work now.
Okay, so another thing that we do very heavily is social media. So we've all heard of social media, we're all involved in it to some extent, but if you're anything like my age group, you're not particularly across it in a big way. My daughter is. My daughter does our social media. If you don't have anyone, and if you're selling product and you don't have anyone in your group that knows how to do social media, pay someone or go and get some tips yourself. So how does social media work? How do you get followers, and then how do you excite those followers to read your posts? Be provocative. This is what we do. We're provocative, but we stick to a theme. My daughter uses the same hashtags, and the hashtags should be relevant to your message and should stay on trend with your audience and your message. Hashtag New Zealand sheep dairy, New Zealand sheep milk, hashtag New Zealand. Now, hashtags should sum up your imperative, and then they should reach their target audience. Give you a bit of an example. I don't know if you can see the bottom there, but my daughter is fairly provocative in what she does on social media, but she has a lot of followers, and they all look and open her posts. This is her Instagram. So this is the wharf where we have as I said, the Brook Street Pier. You know, Hobart, even your sultry smoke haze is seductive. Now, I could have put that photo up and would have said, nice day today in Hobart. You know, here we are today selling cheese in Hobart. Boring. So you've got to get stuff that sits with someone's emotion, right? So that's what provocative is let's get the emotion happening. The view of the farm, this is our farm, by the way, this is taken from our cellar door. Work for the day, Tassie style. It fills me up to think my son will grow up here. We've got a little 7-month-old, the baby cheeses. He's got a hashtag, baby cheeses. So you can see how you start getting emotion. We were packing some cheese last year for one of the shows we do. Seriously tempted to shove this in my face while packing a Mountain 4, hashtag Good Food and Wine Show, Melbourne, Tassie cheese. Check out those, hashtag Blue Caves, man. Blue, hashtag Sapphire Blue, which is the name of the cheese. So can you see that if it was me, I would have just said, here's a nice photo of our blue cheese. Doesn't work. The Pamela is the only cartoon thistle rendered cheese in Australia, which we launched about a year ago. It's based on a cheese called Torta del Casal, which we learnt to make in Spain. Visual, again, emotive. This one's great fun. We do collaborations now with other food-savvy producers in Tasmania. One is called Willie Smith's Organic Cider. They have a cider they released called it's a wild ferment cider, so they called it the Wild Willie. So they decided that we should wash a cheese in that because we were doing a festival together. So we named it the Wild Willie Wash. So hence the first one about get your lips around some Wild Willie washed. And then this is Willie Smith, and he was at our stall. So Nicole's tag on that was when your Willie gets a bit cheesy. And then there's the vodka. The first one is about the fact that amazingly, and we're still getting blown away by what's happening with the vodka, amazingly it became one of the top 10 spirits you must try in Tasmania. Tasmania now has 66 boutique distillers, so it's going crazy with distillery, same way you guys are going crazy with dairy sheep. And it's a shame Tasmania's not going crazy with dairy sheep, because we should. So that was like a wow. And this one, I opened it and I quite like it. This is the new still. It arrived. My son designed them. He got them made in, I think, China, and they came over and they got put together. And he's usually away doing other stuff, so he says to us, can you turn the still on and do something? So what does she say? Rather than saying, you know, here's a nice picture of the new still, she goes, what has a big phallic column and strips for you? So again, very provocative. Another one she put up, and Tasmania, of course, the jokes for Tasmania are you marry your relatives. Another one she said is, my brother's asked me to strip for him today. Right. And again, the sheep. This is one of our Awassi rams on that side, the right. And this is actually our Black Friesland ram, whose name's Andrew. So again, just a bit of provocative taglines there. Right. So that's how you work your social media. You get lots of followers, people want to open it, they'll comment on it, and then they retweet. You need them to retweet. And if you get big people following you that have got a lot of followers, as soon as they retweet, you've gone out to their 2,000 followers, and so on and so forth. So it's viral, it's free in terms of cash, it is not free in terms of time. But for a small business, if you can wrap your laughing gear around social media, then do it, because it's not costing us money to do that. Word of mouth referrals. We constantly have people coming to our cellar door. They get what we are, they get what we do, they love what we do, and then they take that information away. On a very simple level with relationship marketing, our cheese that they buy, and by the way, there is only a 1% takeout from our cellar door at the farm of people that do not have a black bag in their hand. The black bag is what we have for them to put cheese in. So our rate of sales for people that walk through our cellar door is extremely, extremely high. It would not happen if we didn't do a good job and the cheese didn't perform. But when that cheese goes back, unfortunately, and it took me a while as a cheesemaker to wrap my head around this, it's not actually a food product, it's a souvenir. It's not a food product, it's a souvenir. Why? Because they're taking it back to Sydney, to Melbourne, to wherever they live. They're going to bring it out at the next dinner party when their friends come around, and it allows them to talk about their trip to Tasmania, to open a discussion about what they did, to share that experience with their friend or friends or family. So our cheese is an experience, and that's part of relationship marketing. Our cheese is not a commodity. It doesn't sit in Woolworths and Coles. It never will. We are not large enough. We don't have the capacity to do that, nor do we have the will, nor the personality type to do that. But our cheese does sit in the experience category. And word of mouth referrals are highly important. It's very important also that if you get any negative feedback, you must deal with it straight away. You must deal with it honestly. And you must go to the end of the earth to make sure that that person is rewarded for complaining to you and has a positive outcome. They've spent time contacting you about something that's not okay. I opened the cheese and it was yellow and it should have been blue, blah, blah, blah. Okay? Need to deal with it properly. You need to deal with it efficiently, and you need to make sure that that doesn't go any further. It will travel 8 times faster than any positive outcome. That's really important to know that. So word of mouth, word of referral is really important. At our cellar door, we have chefs, we have shops, we have people from media, all on holidays, all coming to see us, all just saying, wow, love what you do. Really want to tell people about this. Is it okay? Is it okay to put us on your social media, to take photos, to share it with friends, to put it in my newspaper, to do a video on it? And so that, again, is you're not paying for it. You know, I grew up doing a marketing degree where you've got advertising budgets. We don't have an advertising budget. We have people ring us saying, do you want to put an ad in the paper? And we go, sorry, no, we don't have an advertising budget, but thank you for ringing. Create business opportunities. When you build your relationship marketing skills, you open the door to more business opportunities because you have a personal connection and a personal experience. We have had the most incredible people come through our door. One at present we're talking with, they came to see us on, they were on a high-end boat cruise, and they came through our cellar door on the cruise. And I was saying that one of the issues being small is you need to grow. To grow, you need investment, blah, blah, blah. And he just said, well, are you open to investment? And I said, yeah, at some stage we will be, particularly with the distillery. And next minute we get an email from him saying, what do you want? What do you need? How can we do it for you? So you take a breath and you say, do we do this? Do we want to do this? If we do, how do we do that? So just by, if if I hadn't been presenting to his group, he wasn't at my farm, if he didn't see who we are, if he wasn't saying, I love what you guys do, I love this family experience, you guys are thinking outside the square, if they hadn't seen, feel and touched that, then we would have just been a brand label somewhere in a shop that he might or might not have picked up somewhere. I just can't tell you enough how much opportunity comes to us simply by us being out there and people literally coming through our cellar door. Stay on top of your audience's needs. I mentioned before that a part of the emotion that we evoke in people, in our customers, in our visitors, is that of provenance. It's one word, but it's an entire book. Provenance is highly, highly important. And the more we live in what I call filing cabinets of human lives, which are the skyscrapers in the world, the more we live in that, the more we are out of touch with what is the land, with how we grow our food, with where it comes from. And the more we're out of touch, and none of us here are because we are in touch, but the more of our customers, our community that are out of touch, the more they crave. And it's a craving. It's a craving, it's an obsession for provenance. Where is my food coming from? How is it grown? In Japan, as you know, they've got the QRs on most of the food where you can scan your phone and you can see the story of the cow or the sheep or the vegetable, where it was grown, who is the farmer. It's highly critical in a segment of the market, and don't underestimate it. It's very important. It's also important for you. It's important for us because we love how we farm. We love how we treat the girls. When our visitors come through, we let them know that on my farm, our girls end up in the retirement village because they've worked all their lives. And we've got a big sign up, says retirement village, that's where the old girls are. The boys have a great life. They live a couple of years and then they become a smoked Kransky that we have made for us as one of our products. And I say to them, the boys have been freeloaders. They really haven't done much in their life, so this is how we deal with it. We wait till they're not cute, we wait till they've had a life, and then this is how we deal with it. We know the local abattoir is a friend of ours, etc. And they get that. They get that. They've all heard about how large dairies can be horrific and what happens to animals and so on. They want to hear, and you've got to be honest, and if you're not comfortable with how you're farming, then you need to change that. They like to hear how the animals are treated, and they see, on our farm they see all of that, and they're engaged in all of that too. And then finally, add your own flair. Stand out in the market. First thing I would say is if you're starting in business and you're starting to create product and sell product, then understand who you are. Myself nor my children, and I guess it's because they've got my DNA, are not shy retiring types. They were brought up to be entrepreneurial, to think outside the square. My son was dragged there kicking and screaming. He kept saying, Mum, why don't you just do one thing in your life? But he's the one that's created the Sheepway vodka. And if you're not a person that likes dealing with people, then look at how you're going to sell your product. And I'm not sure that relationship marketing would be the way for you to go. I would certainly go along another path of marketing. But if you do love people, if you love telling your story, if you like engaging with people one-on-one, if you want them to experience the joys and the sadness and the highs and the lows of what you've done, if you want to hear from them, oh my God, that's the best blue cheese I've ever tasted. Oh wow, that's a mouth party. Oh, this is amazing. How can I get more of this? If you want to hear that stuff, which we love to hear, then go into relationship marketing. One of the advantages of relationship marketing, a huge advantage, is that you get immediate feedback. Our business can turn around on a dime, and we can do that because we are hearing one-on-one. There are no filters. There's not a filter of a shop. There's not a filter of a distributor. If something's wrong with our cheese, if something is right with our cheese, if something's wrong with our other products or right with our other products, we hear it, and we hear it in real time from real people. So in conclusion, relationship marketing has, 1, immediately understand your customers' needs. That's what I was just talking about. You can immediately understand their needs. You can help your customers understand and embrace your unique products straight away, one-on-one. You don't have them thinking, why is that blue cheese got yellow on the outside? You can say, this cheese is yellow on the outside because it's got some wash rind on it. Wash rind's this. Oh, great. So they can embrace the yellow colour in the blue cheese. Quickly build a relationship that speaks to the provenance needs of your consumers. Build your brand loyalty that goes beyond price setting. Right? People are buying us when they buy a piece of our cheese. They're buying the farm. They're buying the experience. And by coupling this with direct selling, we gain our full retail value. And yes, we are the most expensive cheese in Australia, made in Australia, for our products from customers that perceive that price is inconsequential. Price is inconsequential. Now, I'm sorry that's a bit of a quick overview on what is relationship marketing. I was saying before that you could spend an entire day or a whole seminar on relationship marketing. But it works for us. And it's what we love, it's what we enjoy doing, it's what gets us out of the bed each day to see yet another visitor and tell yet the same story again and again and again. That's all from me. Thank you, guys.
What an inspirational message you just gave, Diane. I guess there's a lot of small cheesemakers here in the audience, and I think you must have given them quite a lot of food for thought. A couple of things that I particularly liked, your term sheep Hilton. The East Frisian is a little bit fickle, so I think the concept of a sheep Hilton would really appeal to those high-end consumers. I love the fact that you've got succession built into your business, something that we really are challenged here as farmers in New Zealand, getting the kids involved. And
baby cheese is 7 months old, he can now grass like this, so another couple of months he'll be milking.
Fabulous, 3rd generation. So yeah, including a daughter who's got social media skills and a son who's passionate about vodka, what a great combo. And also the fact that you can sell 90% of your product face to face at full retail is again inspirational. So thank you for your time, and as I said, as a marketer, I could listen to you all day. Our next speaker is Natalie Dung. Welcome, Natalie. Natalie is CEO of Super Organic Maui Milk. She's based in the hurly-whirly Shanghai capital, and she is a businesswoman and specialist in marketing. So welcome, Natalie, and looking forward to hearing about Maui Milk.
So, here is a Hello, everybody. I'm very happy to be here. This is my second time to join this conference. Some friends is already very familiar, some is new. But for me, that's very positive because a lot of people want to involve in the sheep milk. Just now, I heard some people already admit our strategy to promote the brand. Definitely, that's just for the first step. For the new category of the product. I just wonder whether I need to stand here because, that's for the product and marketing session. But for us, perhaps we spent 6 years. It's not only for the marketing, not only for the product, we involve in the industry. So today, I just want to share some experience and what we are doing in New Zealand. It's not just it's just for the benefit for both of from our company, as also to the New Zealand. So I need to introduce myself. Okay, So I am a general manager of Shanghai Beeville Food Group, yeah, and also CEO of Super Organic of Dairy, and director of the Moyili Milk, and general manager of the Moyili Milk Shanghai Food Group company. So definitely I'm the small shareholders of the Shanghai Beeville Food Group, yeah. So I have the 15 years the branding experience. We introduce a lot of the European brand and to China, and help them to introduce the distributors, set up the find the distributors, set up all of the channels in China. So I think our group now is professional because we have the 60 years old to know what's about the sheep milk, sheep milk dairy, and sheep milk product. So yeah, we are first company to introduce sheep milk brand to China. It can be like the cow milk to just the resources of the product, but for us, the brand is more important for the sheep milk. So I have the 4 points to share with everybody here. The first thing we talk about, I'm good at for the branding, so I talk about the brand. The first thing is market position and marketing. It's really not easy. When you start for the brand, you need to know what the position this brand is. So what's the kind of the market you need to set up your brand, and where start, and what kind of a product you need to sell in the product. So I think the first for the market position is to make the research of the customer. We need to know the customer behavior. So what's the market always change. So the customers always change their mind, and the different market have the different customers. So like in China, we talk about the China. China have the different cities. Different cities customer, they will have the different point to buy the product. Like I have everybody know the McDonald's. So when you go to the McDonald's in New Zealand, and you go to the McDonald's store in China, you go to in the United States, you will find that all of the product is even with the same name, but the different products, different taste. So why? Because they need to suitable for the market. That will be suitable for the customer's flavor. The customer love that, so we will have a good market. When 6 years before, when we start the sheep milk brand, the first difficulty is lower awareness. And people, even in New Zealand, I ask people, do you know the sheep milk? Sheep milk comes from New Zealand. You know, nobody know that. So you know what's happening in China. I make the market research. I make almost 200 peoples, but just 2 or 3 people told me, oh yeah, sheep milk. I think when I was very poor, so I drink the sheep milk, but now I drink the cow milk. It's a lot of concept. It's different, yeah. So how to let people understand what's a sheep milk, what's a sheep milk product, why we set up this brand, what's the benefit for them. They need a long time to educate the customers and the market. After we set up the brand, the people began to accept that. Another problem is scarcity resources. Yeah, it's just the 100 tons, the 50 tons to the 100 tons. So if we talk about the market, whatever in China or in New Zealand, 500 tons is not industry. I think so. So how to sell that? Yeah, we spend a lot of time to do that. And the second thing, if you have the good market position, you need to keep the good quality of the product. You need to make research when we do it. Why is a sheep milk? what's the difference with sheep milk from the cow milk, from the goat milk, from the other milk. So what's the special? You need to understand the product very well, and you will know what's the product is right for your market. Branding. People love brand. So when we wear, we will take the bag, we like the brand. But brand is a long history. It's not easy, not cheap. So this is our second part. Because we have the headache for the volume of the product, so we think about that, how to solve that. I need to appreciate it, the Lucy and everybody here. I had joined the conference last year. I learned a lot. It's the first time for me to involve to understand what about it's so difficult for the sheep milk. Yeah, so we need to, if we talk about the great plan, we need to start from the feet. So we need to step by step. Yeah, we have the good foundation, so we need like the way we built the building. You like to make the beautiful high building, but you need to have the good foundation, then you can start for that. So the genetic, so the sheep milk, the genetic pool is not too rich, I think. So that's the issue. I understand why we talk about it's difficult for the sheep milk. Another is for the genetic technology. I just say I'm very lucky because at that time I know Peter and Jack. So we talk about the genetic, I learn a lot from them. Yeah. So what I talk now is just a little learn from them. Yeah. So I just don't want to show off, but I need to say what I feel. Yeah. So we don't have the genetic, you cannot get the more volume for that. We can say when you just produce 1 liter one day, so but you need to take care of them very well. You just imagine, if we can produce 2 liters to the 4 liters one day, you can extend it for the 250 days longer. What happened? You still keep feeding them very well. You still take care of them very well. Yeah, but the cost will be lower than that. So you can start from this part. I think everybody, they expanded to involve inside, but they hesitated is a high cost for the sheep milk. So last year, beginning of the last year, we buy the pure yeast freezing the embryos. Now the lamb is already in our White Kingdom farm. I think this is a very quite good start. That's a start for the breeding. That's a start for let the people to get good the genetic, to involve in, to convert the farm and to involve in the sheep milk industry. I think that's a little. So the Peter and Jack, they will talk more about this later. So the third part, I need to say, we have the resources, we have the market, but what about the structure? So the modernization of the developing is very important. Here, I just show the structure of the New Zealand, the company in the New Zealand part. Super Organic Dairy Company Limited is I'm a CEO there. So this is like the holding company that we invest for the Moe milk and for the Southern Cross Dairy sheep technology company. The Moe milk we cooperated with the WKT. In the Southern Cross, we cooperated with the Peter and Jack. So we buy the White Kingdom farm. It's not so fast for us to get OIO approval last year, but now everything is already done. So we talk about the White Kingdom farm. We buy that farm. What we want to do is for our pure yeast freezing the lamb to live there and to set up for the demo of the breeding in the future. And we can develop the genetic pool yeah, to help ourselves and other farmers to want to convert the farm to the sheep milk. Also, we want to set up the assurance program in this farm. Yeah, I think that will be the standard to understand how to feed the farm, how to feed the sheep, how to take care of them, how to make the good arrangement for that. Yeah. After we invest for the three part of that, we hope to set up one of the system for the comparison model and the price quality control system. We set up our system and the processing line and everything there, we can have the milk. But in the future, this is not enough. We hope to have the more farmers to join with us. So I think everybody will be concerned what about the price for the milk at that time. In our plan, we think $3 for 1 liter is for start, but can be higher, can be lower according to the quality control system. Yeah, if you do good, the good price, because we have the good product in the market. Yeah, if not too good or not right, so we can get the lower price, or we don't. Yeah, it's not involved inside. Except the shape and the structures of the company, I think the more important thing is for the partner and the team. We spent 6 years in New Zealand. I think we have the very good team in both sides, in China side and the New Zealand side. I introduced the Chinese team. We have the Chinese team in Shanghai Bwell Food Group. I just the general manager. We have the operating directors. He is very powerful. He in charge of the 2 public company before. The market value is 200 billions, over the 200 billions. So I can say he had the rich management experience. Also, we have the COO to responsible for the marketing in China. He is helped the 2 public company to help the 2 company, is dairy company and the branding company, to go to the public. So now in China, I think all of the team that work together, we need to open the mind and have the innovative thinking to set up the brand for us. In New Zealand part, yeah, I still think I'm very lucky, because for the partner, the chairman Bill and Andrew is the director of the Moyi Milk Company Limited, so they give us a lot of support. I can feel they're so honest, they're serious to do this business. Give me a lot of the support and trust each other. Just like the Chairman Bill talked about, we work together, we are in the same boat. I can feel the culture of the Maori people, the Maori group. Yeah, I respect that. And Pete and Jack, we are partner, but we still think we are in a family. Yeah, we are part of our family. I'm very enjoying the time with you. Yeah, because of you, I think I'm more confident today. In Shanghai Bwell also super organic. Our strategy for the marketing is not just only for the China. We think sheep milk can go to all of the world. So we keep the global view. In the future, we will have some more marketing people or the experts join us in a different place all over the world. So that's after we did everything there, so I'm very confident to say sheep milk, yeah, will have the good future, and I'm very confident for the Moyi milk because Moi is our main brand. Now is already launched the product in China and New Zealand. So I think we will have the good future for that. So we have the hunter to work in Shanghai with our company. I think what we did in the marketing, he had the right to talk something. Hunter.
Thanks, Natalie. Just as Hunter comes up to the stage, I think from hearing what you say, you've got the dream team there, Natalie. You've got the iwi connection with the farms with Waituhi Kuruto. You've got some of our best geneticists, and you've got the market covered with both yourself and your skills in that niche, high-value positioning. And Hunter, of course. Now, Hunter is based in Shanghai. He runs his own business, and he actually speaks fluent Mandarin. He's worked with quite a few New Zealand producers who are wanting to enter the Chinese market. And it can be a bit crazy just getting your head around all of China, so it's nice to know that we've got someone like Hunter that we can approach. So over to you, Hunter.
Great, thank you. Can we start with the slideshow? We'll get things going. So just to quickly introduce myself, I'm originally from Central Otago. I've spent the last 9 years living in China, and I can speak Chinese well enough to get myself in and out of trouble. I enjoy living up there. It's really fast-paced and lots of fun. And the other thing is that with regards to a bit of background about the company, when we talk about Peter Gatley and Jake Chardon, how are they involved with Maui Milk and myself, is that their background, they've spent the last 13 years with Deer Improvement, and the manager of Deer Improvement is my father, Bruce. So there's a good family connection there. It'll be good to get the slides show. We'll start. So Maui Milk has launched in China, in Shanghai. Shanghai is the most competitive place, I think, in the world. This is not the right one. Yeah. So Shanghai is a very, very difficult market. Why is that? Is because everyone is there. Everyone in the world goes to Shanghai first. It's quite easy because few people speak English, but it's very, very competitive. So we've launched our product in the heart of Shanghai, right downtown. It's not really China. It's China Light. It's very different. Where I live, there's lots of boutique coffee shops, boutique breweries. I go watch the rugby every weekend. It's wonderful, so I enjoy it. But we're in Shanghai, we're right in the heart, and we're in the high-end supermarket. So when we talk about high-end supermarkets in Shanghai, is that these are full of international products. They have more ranges than what you'll get in New Zealand with regards to branding and product mix. And also, the price points in these supermarkets are incredibly high. They're a lot higher than here, and that's good. I have some photos of the product as well. But the other thing about the product is that we do have some packaging here, and at the break time, come and see me. You can have a look at what we're doing, have a bit of a chat. We're very happy to talk about what we're doing in the market. And if you ever get to Shanghai, get in touch, come and see me. You can buy me a beer and I'll tell you a little bit about Shanghai. I'm always open to that, always happy for Kiwis to come up and talk to me. So what are we doing with our brand and how do we build it in China? Because it's so competitive. So the thing about building a brand in China is that it's all about one-on-one sales. You might think, yep, there's 1 billion people there, there's lots of opportunities, you just get a distributor and away you go. Well, how does the distributor actually sell the product? We talk about relationship marketing. China is further ahead. We're well down the path in relationship marketing. It's more competitive, so relationships are more important. So to build a brand in China, it is bloody hard work, and it's about one-on-one sales. You need to go and talk to people. Sheep milk is a new product. People don't go out and say, oh, I'd love to buy some sheep milk today. What they're looking for is healthy products. There we go. Beauty. Yeah, just also a little bit more about my background in the sheep dairy industry. I started 5 years ago with Blue River, and now I'm helping Natalie and her team in China with the link into New Zealand. I really enjoy the cross-cultural stuff. It's lots of fun. Okay, so here's our product sitting in one of the high-end supermarkets. This photo was taken in City Super. It is super expensive supermarket. It's got everything. It's got fresh oysters. It's got, you name it, it's all there. We don't put our product in the dairy section, in the infant formula section. It's in the health food, okay? Because we're moving sheep milk to a new category. If you want to put it into dairy, you put it into dairy and you'll just sell it as a commodity. We're moving across into a different category, trying to push it away from cow's milk and also from goat's milk. I'll tell you, there's a real problem we have. Mr. Chen talked about it before, about young. I'll tell you, we have a language difficulty and we need to move sheep away from goat. So, how do we do it? You know, we're talking about online, offline. I'll go into a little bit more detail, but China is really advanced. Online sales, offline. It's all about events, talking directly to the consumer, and really it's one-on-one selling. It's really difficult. So you've got to get out there, you've got to get people that understand the product, and you've got to talk to people, because the Chinese consumer is very, very sensitive about provenance, about where the products are from and all that sort of stuff. So we'll quickly go through. Yeah. So I love this photo. Shanghai is home for me. It's just an awesome place. And I took this from a website. But for me, Shanghai is just so much fun, and it's so competitive. So what I'm going to do is I want to quite quickly introduce to you a little bit about China to get your head around a little bit about China, because it's very different to what everyone thinks. So the biggest problem that we face as an industry is we need to educate the consumer about the product. And when you start educating consumers, it costs you a lot of money and a lot of time. So that's why one-on-one selling and tasting the product is going to be so important to develop the industry as a whole. But also, one of the real positive things is that the Chinese consumer is a very fast learner. They listen to key people, and if you get to the key people, you can scale up pretty quickly. But it's all about tasting the product and enjoying the flavour and the health benefits and all that other stuff. So, Chinese language. For those of you that don't speak Chinese language, it is a little bit difficult to understand. But Yang Nai, well, at the start we've got Niu Nai, which is cow's milk, and Niu is cow, which is easy. Yang Nai can either be sheep or goat's milk, okay? And if you say Yang Nai, the perception is that it's goat's milk. If you say Yang Rou, which is meat, the perception is that it's sheep's meat. So we've got an education to say that, no, we're not goat's milk, we're actually sheep's milk. So that's quite difficult, because you say, oh, we're selling Yang Nai, and they go, oh, yeah, goat's milk. No, it's me Yang Nai. So you've got to tell a story. So you need to tell them face to face and educate the consumer about that. So it's quite clear. I'm going to give you a good example of what not to do. So Silver Fern and their Salers lamb, their Merino branded lamb, they have it as Gao Shenyang. Okay, which if you're from Taiwan, you're going to see this as Gao mountain, high mountain sheep. If you're from the mainland China, you're going to say it's high goat meat. So here it is, Silver Fern, right in the smack there. It's the same supermarket as where we're selling our products. It's City Super. And they're confusing the consumer. I've always go into the market and ask people, what do you think? Is this goat meat or sheep meat? And 9 times out of 10, everyone says, well, it's goat meat. So, you need to be careful. You need to be aware. So we don't want to confuse the consumers. I've told Silver Fern about this quite a lot. if you're involved with Silver Fern, can you tell them to change it, please? Be good. Yep. So China is just not one market, okay? You've got second tier, third tier, fourth tier, fifth tier cities, okay? That's all very, very complex, and what does it all mean? Well, let's sort of take the easiest example, because you all know Beijing and Shanghai. I hope you've heard of them. Okay, but I could have chosen 100 other cities to make comparison. Let's just sort of talk about Beijing and Shanghai. So the language, Beijing local language and Shanghai local language, completely different. Nothing's the same. Okay, so if I spoke in Beijing dialect, which Beijing's roll their R's worse than Southlanders, but they really roll their R's, and Shanghai dialect or language, completely different. Okay, the money, which I think is very interesting, there's coins in Shanghai, no coins in Beijing. Okay, the stereotypes, Beijing men are strong and drink a lot of alcohol. They drink a load of beer. I love Beijing in the summer. Beer and lamb on skewers, it's amazing, it's lots of fun. But the stereotype of people in Shanghai is that in Shanghai the woman is strong. You don't mess with the Shanghai woman. The Shanghai man around China is the man that all the ladies want to marry because he's good at cooking and cleaning. Yeah? So the food, Beijing, they eat meat. They eat meat, hard liquor, and beer. They drink so much beer up there. It's a great place to visit. Yeah? Shanghai, seafood. They're a bit more sophisticated. Well, they think they are. Yeah? Okay, there's the whole north-south thing. But you name it, on every little thing, the way people look, the way people dress, the way people behave, it's completely different. Every time I go to Beijing, and I go there probably once every couple of months, I see something different that I didn't know is in Beijing. So China is such a complex market that it's not one, it's like Europe with more languages and more cultures and everything. So now if people say, oh, we distribute around China, well, I start laughing and I go, well, no, you don't. You use other people, you give partnerships. Because Beijing market is so different to Shanghai. And then you could say, Shenyang to Xi'an, or Nanning to Nanjing. They're all very different. Languages as well. So look, it's a complex market and it's fun. Okay, so the consumer behavior is changing fast, okay? And the main driver of the change in the behavior is technology. It's mobile phones. When we first started selling sheep's milk in China, people would turn their nose up and go, what? Sheep's milk? You don't drink that. Yeah? That was 5 years ago. Now, people are saying sheep's milk. Okay, tell me more about it. Where's it from? Are the sheep happy when they're being milked? Yeah? What's the environment like? Yeah? Is it a good product? Where else is it available? They want to know more and more. The Chinese consumer is so highly educated and do a lot of research, so the behavior is changing very quickly. Okay, talk about social media in China. I think the social media in China and how things are done, China is so far ahead. And I'll give you an example. Just before I came down here, my wife was sitting at home and she goes, we need new nappies for our little daughter. So at 10 o'clock at night, bang, on a phone, couple of buttons. 8 o'clock the next morning, the products arrived. Okay, it's about the same price as walking down 20 metres down the road to the supermarket. It's actually cheaper. So e-commerce, social media, it's faster. If you're doing anything in China, get on WeChat. Get on WeChat. It's in English. It's the best platform, I think, to talk to your consumers. It's best way of describing it is you take Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, everything together and put it into one app. That's it. It's such a powerful tool. If you ever go to China, put it on your phone, connect with people. It's in English. It's very, very powerful tool, and it is probably the biggest driver in one of the changes in social media in China. And Western companies are now copying it. China doesn't copy anymore, it leads. Okay, you've probably heard or not heard of O2O, e-commerce. O2O means online to offline. So what's happening is the big online...
Sorry, there's been a fire alarm in the other building, so can I ask everyone to just get out of their seats, please, and go out onto the lawn out there?
It was lunchtime and we thought, oh, this is interesting. First time I've seen this. So I was the guest of honour because I was the only sort of foreigner there. They don't really see foreigners out there too much. So we rocked up and then they started this sort of performance to welcome me. And then they gave me sort of those sort of rings, sort of like the Hawaii sort of style stuff. And they gave me a soup bowl full of baijiu. Now, if anyone knows, been to China and drank baijiu, it's like vodka's quite nice. Baijiu is like methylated spirit, so it's very strong and it's what they drink in the north of China. So they started singing this song, and I had to drink 3 bowls of this baijiu. And it's okay. I went to Dunedin, and I used to enjoy myself at university, so I had the right training. And after 3 bowls, I was, oh shit, this is a bit tough. And they said, well, the song they didn't tell me at the start, but they said, well, the song hasn't finished, so you've got to keep drinking. So it was an interesting lunch and an interesting afternoon. But the north of China, they drink their hard liquor, but down the south, it's a lot lighter. They drink, cold beer and other stuff. So, China's just so complex. So I thought I'd just tell you a story that had nothing to do with sheep's milk and more about drinking over at lunchtime. Let's get back to what I was talking about before. So we talk about online in China. You all hear it. Everyone's saying there needs to be a strategy online. What's actually happening is the online and offline is mixing together. So the big online companies like JD, Dingzhong, and Taobao, they are moving to offline. And the offline companies are moving online because it's not just enough to have one. And you look for a sheep's milk product, people need to try it. So if you're just 100% online, you're really going to struggle. But there's a merging of the two in China, and it's happening fast. And I've got some friends that are involved in the social media marketing space, and they reckon they'll be out of a job in a couple of years because social media is just marketing. It's all about relationship marketing, and the Chinese are doing it really quickly. So, mobile commerce in China, everyone's on their mobile phones and everyone's shopping on their mobile phones. It's set up a couple of buttons and you can buy whatever you like. Your cards are all linked. I go into my local sort of corner dairy, I use my phone to pay because it's easier. So it's moving fast. So online in China is important, but so is offline. You need the mixture. You need both of them. Online's great, especially for a smaller company, because you can tell your story and get it out there. But offline, you need that as well. So you need a balance between the two. Right, so transparency. This is where I think New Zealand has got an advantage over a lot of companies, a lot of countries, is that the Chinese consumer wants to know the provenance of their products. They're really interested and they do their research. What's also happening is they're actually traveling to the countries and doing the research in the country. So, for a country like New Zealand with good farming systems, good practices, not feedlotted cows that people can't film like in the States, New Zealand, we're in a very good position. But transparency is key. The other thing is that you need to be able to back up your marketing speak. If you say something in the market, the consumer will check it, because the Chinese consumer loves understanding about their products because they don't trust anything. Chinese don't trust anybody. New Zealanders were too trusting. So you need to back up your marketing speak with real action. Okay, So when we talk about sheep's milk, we talk about the health benefits. Lactose and lactose intolerance and stuff is part of the mix, but it's not the major thing. It's not the major hook for sheep's milk. Okay? Sheep's milk does make a difference to some people, but the science in behind it is a little bit, it's not that strong. Does it need to be? It needs to get better. I think more research will happen. I'm going to give you an example of what happened to my daughter. She is now 6 months old, and my wife is Chinese. So for the first month of her life, my wife drank cow's milk. Milk powder from New Zealand, cow's milk. Okay? And through breastfeeding, she got a lot of eczema and stuff on her face. This is quite common with kids. So what we did is we changed very quickly to sheep's milk. And that was a major dietary change of my wife. And it cleared up very quickly. And that's through my wife consuming sheep's milk powder into water, into powder, through breast milk, and it affected my lovely daughter. So I'm a walking billboard for the sheep milk industry, because I've got a story that, to me, I can show you photos and all that sort of stuff, but to me, sheep milk is different to cow's milk. But why? We're not too sure. So, there's lots of positives, but, the science at the moment is not that strong. Okay, so the other thing is that the China market is changing really quickly. Yeah, and the consumers are always changing. They're always evolving and things. And one of the things that foreign companies really struggle with is keeping up. And the best way of describing it is that in the head office, say in Auckland, they make a decision, and then by the time it gets translated up into China, the market's moved. The market research is gone. When people look at market research into China, I always say the best market research is to put a product in front of someone and ask them if they'll buy it. And if they don't want to buy it, then ask them why not. And then, you need to always be doing research, testing the market, because it's moving. The best way of describing the Chinese market is I grew up beside the Clutha River, and it's a big, sort of slow-moving river. And the best way is it seems like the Chinese market seems very calm across the top. But underneath, it's very complex and very, very, it's dangerous, and it doesn't make sense. But on top, it seems very simple. So it's the best way of changing. It's always changing. When I arrived in China in 2007, there was only one bank in the city that I could go to transfer money. Now you can do it on your mobile phone. The changes in China are mainly related to technology, and giving everyone a mobile phone with a camera has really opened up transparency. The government is really sort of under pressure because people can't get away with what they could before because it's becoming more transparent. Okay, so here's where I see the opportunities for New Zealand sheep's milk. Yeah, it's a healthy product. It's a great product. Yeah. It's from a very clean and safe environment. It's got good transparency. As Kiwi farmers, we've got nothing to hide, and it's traceable. But it's no different to any other New Zealand product. So that's the opportunity, and that's the challenge. We've got some very good. If you look at clean and safe environment, some parts of New Zealand maybe not at the moment, but generally speaking, it's a lot better than China. It's a healthy product. Yeah, it tastes good for me, and I quite like drinking it. Yeah, the transparency on farm. We're going to have good. You need to have good animal practices. You need to look after your animals. Are the sheep happy? The consumer wants to know if the sheep are happy. And then traceability is also very important. And I could spend hours talking about what's happening in China with regards to traceability, but everything will be traced back to farm very soon. And it's happening at a faster rate. And China will lead the world on traceability very soon through technology. That's it. There's my contact details. Make sure in the break, come and see us, because we've got some packaging for you guys to have a look at. We're happy to answer questions and all that sort of stuff. So, thanks for your time.
Thank you. Very interesting to hear your personal testimony about how sheep milk has impacted the health of your family, Hunter. It's great to have some of those up your sleeve when you're working with buyers, I'm sure. Also really interesting insights about the Chinese consumer, particularly that confusion around yang and how you're dealing with that with positioning sheep milk away from goat. So we've got one more speaker in this consumer market session, and that's Scotty Chapman from Spring Sheep Dairy. And Scotty is the CE and director of Spring Sheep. He is a worldly marketer and salesman. He's spent quite a few years up in Japan promoting New Zealand cuisine, and looking forward to your insights. We've moved from China to Australia to China, and Scotty's going to enlighten us on a few other markets that he's been working on.
Thank you, Lucy. All right, we'll see if we can get this going. Here we go. Boom, that's a good start, isn't it? Hello, everybody. My name's Scotty, and today I'd like to explain a little bit about Spring Sheep Milk Company, our strategy and journey, and also use a couple of case studies, because for us to go down this path, we don't want to reinvent the wheel. There's already been people, made successes in other businesses, and we need to take learnings along the way, not try and do it from start. And if you think about it, I mean, sheep milk's been around a long time. Kind of since Jesus was a baby, there seems to have been sheep around the place. And they've been drinking milk a long time. We need to make sure, as I said, that we work to that and don't try and reinvent. Now, just to clear it up in the beginning, how we're structured, Spring Sheep is a JV between Landcorp and SLC, which is my company. SLC has two arms to it. One, it's a private equity fund with myself as the cornerstone investor, and the other, it's a boutique international agribusiness marketer. Now, we own Spring Sheep between us, and it's managed as one company. So marketing innovation, we obviously do ourselves within-house. All the sales we're doing. We manage the supply chain and processing, regardless of the partner we use for it. And we subcontract Landcorp to manage the farm on our behalf. But what's important to know is it is one entity end-to-end. Now, we could have done this ourselves, and Landcorp could have done this themselves as well. We've both got the capital, we've got the marketing ability, the sales experience, etc., the R&D capability. Landcorp's got the genetics, the farm management, and the process capabilities. But both ourselves and Landcorp decided not to do that and do it together. In our case, we needed a partner that could not only scale, but scale with substance, because we need the processes to scale, we need the health and safety, we need the quality. And Landcorp is the perfect partner, because what they have to do, they certainly have to go beyond the majority of farms, they're under a lot more scrutiny. For us, they're a fantastic partner to have in this. Landcorp also have a stated goal of transforming New Zealand farming, and part of that is getting away from being a price taker and being able to get further down towards shaping markets. And if you get past the farm gate like we are, all of a sudden the commodity swings look really good one year and are really hard the next. You can make those go away, or at least minimise them. But as I mentioned, the most important thing is we sink or swim together. So it's not a case of we have a transfer price with Landcorp, we take the milk and off we go. We have to make this work between us. If the sheep don't work, we lose. If the market doesn't work, Landcorp does. It's an end-to-end venture. When we put that mindset into it, it completely changed the way we did business, because we have to sell successfully for this business to work. There's nothing internally to worry about transfer pricing and things, and that's really important to us. Now, in regards to who's involved with Spring Sheep Milk Company, a lot of you will know Michael Ahi or know of him. He's the Pro-Chancellor for Massey University, amongst many other jobs here, as well as many other roles he does in governance. Peter McClure is on our board. He's just retired as MD of Fonterra Brands, so he was responsible for Tip Top, Anchor, RD1, amongst many other things he's done. Tony Marks, behind me over there. Do you want to put your hand up, please, Tony? Thank you. Tony was the CEO of Zespri when I worked for many, many years ago. Actually, Richard Branson tapped him on the shoulder personally to start Pacific Blue Airlines in New Zealand, but Tony's a professional director, and I would suggest probably the best international food marketer that New Zealand's put out. Steve Carden, CEO of Landcorp, he personally wanted to go on this board because he can see the opportunities, so having someone of Steve's calibre actually personally interested in getting involved in this is a real honour, to be honest. Finally, myself, as I said, SLC is mine. I spent 13 years travelling or working all of Asia, and when I came back 10 years ago, we set up a beverage business that we then ended up on selling to Heineken. So coming back to lessons learned, what we're trying to do. Success depends on previous preparation. I mean, that's just an old-fashioned version of the 6 Ps. Prior planning prevents poor performance. And we need to make sure that we plan to make this work, because this isn't going to happen. You know, we're looking to grow a sheep milk business at scale. It won't happen if we don't do a whole lot of planning. It's going to go badly. And one thing that I find really interesting, I think this graph here, if I can get my hudaki to work. Cool. So this is the speculator emotional cycle. And we all like to think that, you know, we buy in here because we're all savvy investors and want to buy at the right time. This line here, to me, is the rational investor's value, because there's a risk premium, because you're taking really high risk. And, you know, we can talk about the bovine world, if you like. There's a level whereby it's a fair investment, and it's worth it just for trading, and that's where it is. But then, the 2 words that stand out in here are greed and denial, or greed and fear, if you like. And when things are good, people only think they're going to get better. And then speculation comes in, and people think this is going to be fantastic. And that's where the issues come in. And then when it turns, everyone forgets it because it's just a blip. But it doesn't. And then all of a sudden, people run because confidence goes. And that's the point where all of a sudden there's buying opportunities again. But this here, you know, if we put it into an actual example, Dairy, this was in Stuff about 10 days ago, I think, and it was written by Barry Wilson, who's the editor of the UK and owner of the UK Dairy Industry newsletter. And I quote, "You occasionally get a good year like 2013, but to assume it's going to be like that every year, you must be mad and have no sense of history. But somehow farmers always think prices will remain high." And you know, if we look back at the long term on the bovine, $5 to $6 has been the norm for as long as we can remember. And yet it's attitude that's changed, and cost structures have gone to match what the payouts were. So I think there's some real lessons in here. With lessons, I wanted to look at a couple of case studies, and we've done this internally to learn who's done this well before. A couple of case studies, one being Zespri, who in 30 years cracked the big one. The other is the New Zealand wine industry. That's, you know, another successful industry. So you'd have to look at both of these two as success stories. So if we go through Zespri first, don't worry so much about the lines, but what that says at the moment is per hectare return for a kiwi fruit grower is around about $55,000 a hectare. And over the last 15 years, it's been a very, very profitable business. So I love this slide, and this is taken from their annual reports since 2006. I read them all, and they all say exactly the same thing. Indirectly or directly, Zespri spend 12 to 14% on marketing. That's talking to consumers, actually working it out. It's a huge number, and it's got a lot to do with the success they have. So how did Zespri get there? Well, it began with a boom, or the kiwi fruit industry, I should say. So really high demand led to a whole lot of kiwi fruit coming in. And I like the second one. You know, it was 2,000 hectares, and thinking about the size of our industry, it's probably not too far off 2,000 hectares now, maybe a little bit more, but not a lot. Within 10 years, it went up to 19,000 hectares because there was demand. As much as you can give it, we can sell it. Don't worry about quality, just bring it on. It'll work. And you know what? It did for a while. Production went up to 203,000 tonnes in 10 years. So it all sounds good, but most of us in the room will know what happened next. You know, all of a sudden, supply exceeded demand. And that is when you have real issues. So all of a sudden it couldn't sell. Many, many growers lost everything. So if you look at the person beside you, let's say we're all farming in this industry. Almost 1 in 2 had to rip everything out. That means huge losses, bankruptcies, marriages, pick whatever you want. A whole lot of things gone really, really bad. Remember, this is a good news story. What happened next? Well, it was rebuilt. This was actually the point where Tony, they just changed it from NZKMB, which was a company I was working for in Japan at the time, got rebranded to Zespri. Tony was brought in at that point, and all of a sudden it became consumer focused through necessity, because it had to. It went supply focused for a long time, brilliant in the short term, until it got cooked. So all of a sudden, through brands, through multiple markets, through research and development, and we'll talk about gold, which was a major part of that, and volume controls on supply, demand started coming right again. All of a sudden, New Zealand growers are making money. Now, this isn't a short-term fix. And then we had sustained, controllable growth. Now, what's going to happen in the future? Well, New Zealand's 30% of the globally traded kiwi fruit. It is the largest exporter. But it's only 0.5% of fruit consumed. And the high-end consumer around the world understand the quality and what the Zespri brand means. So the opportunity for Zespri to get bigger and bigger in a controlled manner using quality, R&D, etc., is massive. And Zespri's vision, I think, is well and truly on its way of being the world leader in kiwifruit. Now, just a couple more on Zespri before I finished. I went through all their annual reports, as I said, and over again it says optimise core performance. So let's come back to our own world. When we're thinking about a sheep milk business, in your own head now, I'm not going to ask you, but just think quickly, what does optimise core performance mean to you? Well, for Zespri, it means increasing consumption. It means understanding our consumers more, and it means developing new markets. Nothing about more yield, nothing about what can we do in any other side. It's all about how do we get consumers to understand what we want. Their second message is about building, or second vision is building competitive advantage. And what does that mean? Interesting, isn't it? Review brand architecture. What can we do? And how do we get further research in the areas of taste and health? I alluded to Gold briefly, and when Tony was CEO, that's when Gold was launched. I was actually working for them in Japan at the time. Zespri went out and worked out that consumers liked it. They knew it was healthy. There was a bit of a vitamin C story in those days, but it wasn't that tasty. Well, the Gold, and now they've done this all over again 15 years later with Sun Gold, they've listened to consumers and provided a sweeter version, something that consumers really like. And that's tying in competitive advantage through listening to consumers and bringing it all the way back through R&D. Third point is pursuing growth horizons. What that means is opening up new markets, new cultivars, which alludes back to the Gold again or similar, and new product ingredients. And what's interesting for me, kiwifruit don't sell fruit, they sell digestive health. They sell solutions for consumers. And that is where you get your value as opposed to being a competitor to a banana or an orange. It's very, very powerful. I love these words that pop up in their annual report. Demand ahead of supply, new markets. Now think about our own businesses and what we're trying to achieve. Emerging economies, creating new opportunities, long-standing. Investing to build demand for our products ahead of supply. Now in Spring Sheep's case, that is our strategy. It's everything we have to do. We can't just produce and hope they'll come. We need to make sure we drive this. And if we can take a leaf out of Zespri's book, it'd be a very good start. So let's look at another case study. Don't get too concerned about this, this graph, but what it shows, the dark orange line, is domestic consumption of wine since 1980. You could think about it as domestic consumption for sheep cheese, if you like, in our world, and we're right at the beginning. The next lighter colour, that's exports, which obviously have come into their own recently, and the blue line is supply. Now, there's times where there's oversupply demand. 1 year doesn't matter because you can store for a couple of years. But you can see there's been huge variations, but recently it's been going relatively well, other than the 1 year. When I look at this, I think about domestic cheese. I love Diane's presentation earlier. She's not milking sheep. That's not her business. She's selling souvenirs. She can make a living off a very small hand area because she gets it. She is talking to her consumers and they are buying souvenirs because they've been on holiday, they feel good, and this is a way to take some home or to justify what they're doing. And her price point, isn't that brilliant? Proudly the most expensive. Now, we're going to get really, really oversupplied in this country because there's going to be a lot of people looking for the local market because it's an easy out. So it's one to think about. Make sure you know what business you're in. And Diane knew really clearly she was in the tourism business. It was a fantastic presentation. So in the case, coming back to grapes, you can see it's not as profitable as Zespri, but it's certainly not bad. That's $20,000 a hectare. Not bad at all. And guess where this goes? Well, it began with a boom with Marlborough's first large-scale commercial plantings. And the industry got larger, overseas investment came in and said, give us more, and it boosted the local industry. Production rose to 5,000 hectares. Now, no prizes for guessing what the next slide is. And this is a success story, guys. You know, Jazz mentioned earlier about what happened with deer. We won't even talk about Angora goats. I was on a farm in central Otago, North Otago, where I grew up. Dad paid $25,000 once for an Angora goat. It seemed like a good deal at the time, in the mid-80s. Oops, speculation. So, wine, supply exceeded demand. Wine Institute goes, oh, maybe we've got too much here. Guess what? 1 in 4, do the numbers again. They're all pulled out. It's another disaster, and this is a success story by being supply focused. But they got it right. They worked out that we need faster export growth. It's the only way we can manage this supply demand because growing's the easy bit. selling it at value is where the money is and where the money can also be lost. It was decided that increased marketing and promotion was needed. Export sales started to increase, and the industry focused on promoting varietal image internationally. That's really cool. We didn't take on the big boys at their own game. We made up our own game, which is we'll sell by varietal in the new world, and it's been fantastically successful with your Sauvignon Blanc or your Pinot Noir. So in 2014, huge production again, but guess what? And the reason the last word is bolded is on purpose. Value's there as well. Found a niche that can do volume over time by concentrating on quality, finding our niche, and appealing to consumers. And now between production levels, which are very strong, and using the varietals as a competitive advantage, we have a business that's working really, really well, and it's fantastic. Now I've got one more case study before I do a few slides on our own business. And this one's really interesting. I didn't bother going through the same pictures because guess what? It's the same story. We've skipped straight to 15 years ago, it was in the decline. And then Dairy Goat Co-op has spent 15 years building this up. I actually went and spoke to the guys at Dairy Goat Co-op last week just to get some ideas, and it's really, really interesting because it's the same messages coming through. It was oversupplied, it crashed and burned, and guess what? They built a niche category. It was nothing about how much can we get. It's all about how do we get value. They made a category. They made goat infant formula and did it very, very successfully. And quality and brand to deliver. They proudly limit supply. They've got a waiting list of growers. They're not taking them on because they're ensuring what they do, they do well because they do not want supply to exceed demand. They're not going to let it happen. They're not allowing one market to have more than 15% of total supply. Zespri is the same. It's not a stated fact, but they don't. And then we know wine goes all over the world as well. So it's not like you're relying on one customer or one country only. And they're building new markets every year. Talking to Tony Giles last week, average of 8 years from deciding we're going into a market till it commercially gives them a benefit. Now, they could just throw more into existing markets, but they're not prepared to take that risk. And for me and in our business, that's something I find really, really interesting and something that we will work to as well, because we want to mitigate risk. That is our primary objective with this one, to get rid of the highs and lows. So now, over 68 farms, there are a lot of people on the waiting list, and they're going no, because they don't want to blow the whole thing. They're profitable and sustainable for the existing suppliers. And they're over $180 million in sales, but you know what? They're happy doing it slowly. They don't have growth targets. They just want to be a good, profitable business. So multiple suppliers in New Zealand and globally, so these guys are going to come under pressure. There's a whole lot of people getting into goat here, obviously, and in other countries. Well, now it's time for their brand to go to work because value is only in the eye of the consumer. So if the consumers out there believe there's value in the Dairy Goat Co-op brands, they'll survive. Personally, I think they will. I think they've built up some integrity, brand equity, and it's going to work really well. But consumers will now have the choice of going cheap because other players will have to be cheaper or sticking with the brand. So putting our own lens on it, because this is all about us, as it always is, what can we do to stop these things happening? Well, new industries, initial euphoria. We have got something going here that's going to be brilliant. We all get excited. We jump on the supply bandwagon because it's easy and, bring it on, it'll sell. Then the damage hits, especially for the new entrants that take the risk, the early adopters that are prepared to try something new. Look at those case studies on the successful ones. We're not even talking about the ones that didn't work. But you know what? Necessity is the mother of invention. For these ones that have come right, in whatever format it happens, really strong marketing, really strong innovation, and an industry is created. 30 years seems to be about the norm, but we'll have a go at being a bit quicker than that. What are the corrective mechanisms that actually allow this to work? Consumer focus. This is a consumer business. It doesn't matter how big you are. If you don't go back to Diane's understanding the consumers, or even Hunter's talking about, it's one-on-one sales. It is. You've got to know what your consumer wants. Quality. You have to make sure you've got really, really good quality. Controlled supply below demand. If I short a market, I don't care. My only cost is opportunity cost. If I oversupply a market, all the value comes down, and we're dead. So a little bit of opportunity cost is something I'm not scared of. Marketing innovation to tell your story. And don't be reliant on any individual market. That is what those success stories before us are telling. So I tried to think of a few examples of process-driven businesses versus consumer-focused. Strong wool processors, they're all about processing, obviously. Large bovine dairy companies, they have the supply coming in, they have no choice. They're a supply-driven business. Red meat companies, they cannot make money unless they utilise their freezing works properly and get throughput. It's all supply focus. And you know what's interesting about those ones? They're all dominated by one single market. In the wool case, all the processing goes through one market, and in the meat and the milk, all the majority of sales, it's all one market, completely reliant. So what's an example of a consumer-focused business? Can it be done? Is it being done? Well, A2 is a pretty good example. They found a way to work with milk and find what consumers want, and it was like the sample of one before with the baby. People like it, it works, the science will come, but for now, they understand, and consumers are driving this one, not suppliers. Dairygate Co-op, we've talked about that. They understand what their consumers want, and they're really going down that track well. Local example, Lewis Road Creamery. So much more expensive, and yet, you know what? Rather than just having a house brand in your fridge or an anchor in your fridge, you now have something pretty so that when you open your fridge door, it looks good. And it takes you back to old-fashioned values and just something that's nice, and you don't care that you pay $2 more for it. Zespri, I think they're a classic example of someone that's done this really well. Another favourite of mine is NZ Merino. I mean, Merino sell garments that buffer your personal microclimate. They don't sell you wool. And, you know, as I said, Zespri and A2, and Dairygate actually, they're selling digestive health. If you're trying to sell milk or trying to sell meat, you're stuck in a commodity. You find what your consumers want and work down that path, and all of a sudden, it's easy to talk add value. You can't do it unless you know what your consumers want. Oh, sorry, and just to finish that, those ones, they're not reliant on one market. They're going to multiple markets. So if one market dries up or one market goes wrong, they're not hamstrung. It's not the end of the industry and crashes. They can go a lot wider. And they're branded. They're not just bulk ingredients. So quickly, just to spring sheep and what we're trying to do. Well, I don't like the picture of a new industry. I don't like the roller coaster, and we need to mitigate the initial phase of volatility. We've seen how you do it. Easy to talk, really hard to do it. But we need to marry supply and demand to control our destiny. And that means have demand first. Don't just throw it in the ground and hope they come. So what's our strategy? Well, we identify and work to a consumer benefit. Give the strategy time to work by keeping demand above supply. Don't rely on one market. Control your messages. And let's not forget, New Zealand is really, really good at dairy. Our ability, and Fonterra is fantastic at it, to take a piece of milk and convert it into a finished product, whatever that product may be, is brilliant, is second to none. Let's utilise what's already here and make sure we utilise it well. So a lot of our work and what we do as a company is around consumer insights. We have fantastic taste. That's why I'm in this business. You taste the product in whatever format you want, it is sensational. So we've got a really interesting attribute there. We need to tie that in to what other attributes are useful and what consumers are looking for, and provide a benefit that they want, not what they think they want. This is the Henry Ford. If I'd asked people what they'd wanted, they would have said faster horses. It's our job to work out what sheep milk can do better than any other product. That's how we win. And if we concentrate on the consumer benefit, we're, well, a year, but really nearly 2 years into this project. We don't know what products we're going to finish up yet. I'm completely relaxed about that. We need to be in market working on different products till we work out where our sweet spot is. We don't need the answers today. We need to be working for the right reasons. So how can we make money now? Really, really easy. Sorry, there's probably half a dozen people in the room that might want to leave now that work for me, but we could fire all our team because we spend more on marketing and R&D than we do on farming and processing. You know, if we dropped all those, our costs would come down exponentially. I can sell all to China in bulk. I get phone calls all the time that say, we'll take it, we'll take all of it. And we could sell it to China in bulk, and man, that would make my life simple. We're on a long time frame here to even break even, but we believe we can do something good. But if I got rid of all my people and sold it in bulk, it'd be a really, really easy job. I could encourage every other supplier out there to give me your milk. Just give it to me, I'll do my best, because if the market's strong, I'll just take my commission, take my costs off, and give you what's left. And if the market's weak, it's just like every other commodity player, I'll just take my costs off, take my commission, and give you what's left. So I really can't lose. That's what happens when you sit in the middle. We're not going to do that. Because I'm a really vocal critic. I mean, I lived in Asia for a long, long time, and I saw so many things that disappointed me. We don't need to commodity trade. I think it's Ian Proudfoot at KPMG that goes on a lot about, we should be feeding the top I think it's 80 million customers, we should be 5% of their diet. That is how you get value, and yet we insist on commodity trading and going cheap. But it doesn't make sense. And if we do the right thing, sure, it's going to be expensive and hurt in the short term, but we will create long-term sustainable value. And if we can do that without having the roller coaster and the valley of death on the way through, we'll be doing very, very well. I'd love to be one of those case studies that show, hey, we learnt, guys. We saw New Zealand's mistakes, be it commodity trading or others that have come through and got there. We learnt, and instead of taking 30 years, we did it in 15. It's higher risk, but for our shareholders, including myself, we don't want the boom bust. We want something sustainable that works in the long term. So what we've done, well, this year's production, we sold 95% into Taiwan at prices well above what we thought we would, but you know what? That's not success, because we're a marketing company. And we sold in, and that's like a farmer putting the lambs on the truck, or a milk vat getting taken away in the tanker, or a container going to the wharf. That's sales. We're a marketing company. We employ people to work with our in-market partner, who happens to be a pharmaceutical company that's playing in food for this product because they find it so interesting, major listed pharmaceutical company in Taiwan. But we need to work with them so consumers repeatedly take it off the shelf. Not once. Once is easy. It'll move once. It'll move this year. It's not hard. How do we create a habit? And our job is to work with our customers so consumers make it a habit. So the next market, which will be for next year's production, because we have the 1 year lead time to ramp it up, and I'm in these markets, if not monthly, not far off it, will be Korea. That'll be our second market that we go. And everything we do is about marketing and marketing support. So over 25% of the sales price is spent on consumer promotion. A lot of that, it's just the Zespri model, it's one we're replicating. We control that money, and as long as we agree with our importer and how it's working, we'll dish it out. So the prices are very, very high, and we make sure we get our messages said how we want them. There is no such thing as a cheap price. But conversely, we don't just get to take the money and run. We have to invest in these brands. Really importantly, it's our brands. It's not anyone else's brands, and that was a major, major hurdle to get over. We will only do this as our own brand. We're not doing other people's. So what's the next step for us? In market, we've just got to keep getting the consumer insights so we can keep working to the product that we need to. From supply side, quality. We don't have consistent quality in the sheep milk industry, and it will turn consumers off. There's a whole lot of variation out there, and if the first time a consumer smells it or tastes it and goes, you've just lost them for life. So quality is imperative. We Rolls-Royced our shed before we began. We absolutely over-engineered it to make sure that we get our quality right, because that is not negotiable. And our taste and quality standards coming through, already it's worth it. Get the milk yield to where it's commercially viable. Sorry if I'm speaking for others, but I think of any of the major producers in here, none of us are anywhere near global averages on yield. And we won't have a sustainable industry until we get there. Globally, the average price is about $1.20 a litre. Internally, our goal is to be $1.50 a litre. I mean, that gives us a small New Zealand premium, but if we do really well in market, it isn't just an excuse to subsidise inefficient supply. We need to be growing and supplying as well as anybody else in the world, and there's absolutely no reason why we shouldn't. And then that bit in the middle, we should be able to utilise and add the value, not just subsidise poor farming. So it's really, really important that we get this hand in hand. So in summary, the way NZ Agribusiness has done new markets is just, it's too volatile for me. That commodity trading is high risk, and the valley of death will sink too much. Well, in our case, for our company, we're not prepared to take on that much in the valley of death. That's too hard. We need to learn from those that were successful. And there are some out there, as we've talked about. There's a lot more as well, but there's examples that it can be done. So we've partnered with Landcorp, and we're really, really proud of that fact, because as far as getting the yield right, the quality, appropriate supply volumes, Landcorp can cover genetics, technology, animal husbandry. We're not there. I don't think anyone is there at scale. But Landcorp give us the ability to get there really, really well, and they are incredibly committed to this project. We do consumer insights, it's what we do, and we need to get them. And the third part is multiple markets. Now, it's only our path. We don't pretend to have all the answers. All I've learned from this is, if you're going to go into this business, make sure you know who you're selling to, where you're selling. I love the cheese story where you're in the consumer business, where you're selling souvenirs. If you like working with people, that's brilliant. But if you just go into it without understanding where you're selling or only have one option, be careful, because there's going to be a lot of blood on the table, I think, before this comes through. So to me, insanity, doing the same thing over again. We're not going to do the same thing again. We're approaching this completely differently because we can't afford failure. And I really like this slide. And no one knows what the future is, but the best thing you can do is create it. Thank you.